When I was born in Manchester, my folks tried to migrate to Canada. Then the war came, and I was born just after the war in 1946. My mother had been a dancer and been involved in cabaret when she was much younger. My father was quite a good pianist. He'd never been a professional, but he was a good pianist. And I can remember music being in the family from when I was very young. You know, it was I think during the war and that period, people had very little else to do but entertain themselves by sitting around and singing. And I think I was born with that sort of feeling into me. I was always involved in music from when I was very young. And I used to sit on the toilet and sing. That was my big thing. I used to lock myself in the toilet, and maybe I should have stayed there. But I don't know. I really knew I wanted to be in the music business. When I came to Australia, my father bought me a guitar, which I played for a very short amount of time and gave it away. But it wasn't long after moving to Brisbane that a TV channel opened up there, Channel 9. And I did my very first show the week before that opened at a Catholic dance. My parents had a shop and they had a storeroom in the back, and I used to sit around and tinker around with the guitar and sing. A woman came into the shop and heard me and said, would I like to do this concert, which I did. And I didn't know she was the booking then for the channel. And the very next week, after being in the music business professionally for a week, I was on television weekly, regularly. I was 11. I worked from when I was 11 until I was about 16. I gave it away professionally for 2 years for school. But I worked with a band called The Planets, and they really looked after me. They were guys that were then in their 30s, and had sort of really been around the traps in Australia. They played all over the place during the O'Keeffe and the Cold Joy era. I was taken down with a couple of the guys that were in The Planets and introduced to Jimmy Hannon. I was about 15. And Jimmy Hannon then, I don't know if you can remember, had
Buck Teeth?
Saturday Date and Buck Teeth, yeah, if you can remember Saturday Date, which is sort of the forerunner of Countdown, you know. And he had it every Saturday afternoon. It was the only poppy show of its kind. I met John Harrigan, who was running Surf City, and I was offered a gig in New Zealand, and at 16 I found myself stuck in New Zealand for 2 months without a penny. I came back from New Zealand and lived in the Cross. I was living behind Surf City in a place called the Canberra Oriental Hotel. And I wandered over one day, and Surf City was going, and I walked in and there was a band playing called the Aztecs. And Vince Maloney, Colin Bajan on drums, Bluey Watson on bass.
You got up and had a blow?
And Tony somebody, not Tony Barber, somebody else. Those guys were all about my age, 15, 16, and there was a guy with them about 25 who was running the band anyway. I got up with him and had a blow, and Harrigan heard it and said, listen, why don't we do something? We're going to put a record down. And I thought, sure, you know.
John Harrigan was running Surf City then?
Yeah, he managed the place. And the thing is with Surf City was it was the only real showcase of for people in the record business, in the music business, like myself, that's been in Australia. So while you were working there, it was continually peaking because it was putting through the place like averaging about 5,000 people. Some nights on a Saturday they were averaging thousands on, you know, Thursday, Friday and Saturday nights. Plus they were doing Saturday afternoon and Sunday nights. I mean, it was a real boom. We'd say, for instance, get a dozen songs off and play them for 2 or 3 weeks, and we'd actually ask the crowd, which numbers do you want us to record?
You had a direct...
We had a direct contact. Yeah. People would go out and we were assured of selling 10,000 copies that week, you know. And that's how it was working, over the rainbow. We just said, do you want us to record over the rainbow? Yeah, bang, number one. And we were very rough and very raw and very naive and very green, but we were, in this environment, totally original. We looked different, we sounded different, our approach was different. We were 16 and 70-year-olds as opposed to the 30 and 35-year-old superstars of that day.